red button records it, okay.
What you see here is
Okay, thanks.
a document regarding Linwood. Excuse me. The yellow box indicates that the bank is registered with ProChamps. We're just awaiting the check. The green box tells you that they have registered and they have paid their registration fee. So let's go to 1900 Brook Avenue. The code officer is out there in the field and they either have their iPhone or their iPad and they click on it. What does it tell them? It tells them on the left-hand side that the property manager is a company called MCS. The foreclosure is NOO, meaning the bank already owns it. Someone's still living in the property, it's occupied. It was inspected by Linwood's inspectors on February 6th of 19. There is no legal agent at this point, and the registrant, the people that registered, is the bank. The bottom line says total fees paid, $500, reflected $500. Now, that tells you a little bit. What's really the best part is they would hit contacts. Now what comes up, name of the registration we heard was MCS, but now you have an email address, a phone number, an address to a town in Texas. The owner of the property, the mortgagee, is in North Carolina. That's the next box. Name, address, phone number, and email. Then there's an asset manager. They're in North Carolina. And the last box, over here, is the property manager. That's the people that are supposed to be maintaining it. Where are they located? Texas. They don't even know where Linwood, Illinois is at. So the code officer closes this out, but they've got all this information at their fingertips. Now they pull down filings, and they go down to violation, because the grass is 4 feet tall. And right in there, what's wrong? Grass that needs to be cut, the code number, your ordinance number, puts that in. We know that somebody's living there. It's a safety concern. They write in or they type in why it's a safety concern. And then you see where it says attachment, add attachment. They take a picture of the grass. And then what do? They just hit submit. Where does it go? It goes to every one of those recipients that was on the first page. What that eliminates is the code officer coming back to the village hall, getting an envelope, taking a hard ticket, writing it out, putting it in an envelope, and mailing it. Now, fortunately, to that address, somebody's living there. But a lot of these towns, I don't know, Joe, if you have any idea about how many vacancies you have, but you got to have more than 100 towns. They're going to mail it to a house that's vacant. Where's it going? Nowhere. Now, they save the postage stamp, they save the paper, they save the envelope, they save the time. They've already got their information that they got to take. It's done. That's our program. Our collection rate nationally is over 85 to 90%. There are that 10 to 15% that are just not going to pay. What do you do with that? Give it to your attorney and file a lien. You're not going to get your money right up front, but you will get it when the property is sold. That's what we're about. So I'm here for any questions you might have.
All right, back to the money part. So you said you collect, whatever you collect, we get 2/3, you keep 1/3, is that what you said?
Correct. When I discussed it with Joe, our national average is right around $300 twice a year. And you may wonder why we do twice a year. At least I did. When I was a city manager, I was there. Why not just do once a year, $600 and done with it? Because the properties are changing hands almost daily. One day Freddie May own it, the next day Chase Bank owns it, a month later some other bank owns it. So to stay on top of it, we've got to hold the feet to the fire and make them register every 6 months. We don't recommend the number. Linwood is charging $500. They're getting $400, we keep $100. I think that's a little excessive. It's bordering on the fact that you may be challenged and say, the only reason you're doing this is just like red light cameras. You just want to collect money. You don't care about anything else. I would personally recommend between the number of $350 to $400. Doesn't matter, we'll keep $100. You get a check once a month, it goes to your finance department. You cash it, and you're done. The number that I calculated is 78,000, I believe it's 78. Yeah, 78,500 was based on a $300. So you're getting 400 times the 150.
So how hard is it to actually get the banks to go and register? I mean, I'm sure that's like not an easy process at all, right?
It's very easy.
Really? So if it's easy, why can't we have somebody on our regular staff do
You
that?
can. It's a full-time job
Oh.
for several people.
I
Because what you're doing is when someone files a foreclosure thing, they're going to the court. So somebody's got to check on that court docket every day, and almost every hour. When was it filed? When it's filed, it'll just say, Chase Bank of Lombard is filing against Mr. and Mrs. Jones of Linwood at such and such address. Now somebody's got to go find that address of Chase Bank. Somebody's got to find the email address, and all that, and all that. If that's not worth $100, then something's wrong. Whenever I go in, anybody can do this. You just have to sit at a computer all day long. We have over 100 people in Florida. All they do is log into all the courthouses where we're at. Now, we're expanding in Illinois. We started out with just Cook County. We've got Will County now. We've also got down in the center of the state, we've got East Peoria, West Peoria. I've got to go to Quincy next week. It's Waukegan just signed up, Rockford signed up, and Winnebago County. So it is a full-time job. Yes, it can be done in-house. But if you take $100, you've got 100 applications. So let's run it up to 200. So you're going to keep 20,000. You think somebody's going to sit at the computer all day long, whatever you do for $20,000? Everybody asks me, well, how do you do it? Last month we registered over 40,000 foreclosures. 40,000 times 100. That would balance your books out there. Balance every book in the south side. That's why I said the money's important, don't get me wrong. But what's really important is the solution. The one thing I didn't mention, there's nobody here from the utility building department. They send out a lot of work to come back undeliverable. Now they can go on there and see if it was undeliverable. Well, wait a minute, that's in foreclosure. I'm going to send it right to the bank. And put the bank on notice that you owe money for the water. So there's that other added value that you're going to be able to collect money from your water bills that you're not owing on. As well as I'm assuming you have trash bills also like most people. And it helps organize your system. You know, you can have somebody drag along and do all this, and then somebody can have to enter the computer and update it, not only data but also that's a full-time job. More.
And so you said a 2-year agreement is what you kind of work with, gonna go for, and then, but 30-day notice is all you pretty much need to just cancel out if we don't have the service.
If you want to cancel it, send us an email 30 days later, we'll part from it. But like I said, since 2009, over 400 municipalities, not one has ever opted out. And you've got communities, you're in Will County. We just, you're, I'm sorry. In Will, we just signed up one of the biggest ones in Will County, Bolingbrook. They have over 700. The staff said, Mayor, do you really want to go public and tell the community that you got 700? He said, you're damn right, I think this was my friend. He said, I want to let Mrs. Jones, that's living next to that vacant property that's dilapidated, let her know I'm doing something. I'm not just sitting here watching my housing stock go to waste. Any other questions? Oh, we do prepare what we call best practices ordinance that we've already given to Joe and the agreement. We suggest you give it to the legal department to look at. Redline whatever they want to change or do, because it's your law, it's not our law. You can only, we'll give you the basics so that your lawyers don't, you don't have to be billed for $500. They then send it back to us. We've never denied any of the law changes. Yes, ma'am.
So how large can your database be, or are we gonna include those 400 vacancies that, we have on books now?
Yes, if you can write, the ordinance that I provided is an ordinance that specifically says any house that is in foreclosure and any house that is vacant, the owner of that property must register. Now, keep in mind, the owner is not necessarily the resident. It is the big guy, the bank. So your potential for more money is there. We would have to work with staff to get more data regarding your vacancies. What we look at is tax bills first. We'll pull all the tax bills for this town. And if a tax bill is going out of state, we're going to track down that person and see if it's empty or not, because that usually tells us they're not living here. They're either renting it or it's vacant, one or the other.
So what happens if the house is in foreclosure, active or potential, and then all of us, they get things straight, figured out, they get back on the roll as they're current with their mortgage? Does that still stay on your list, or does it come off?
We send out a notification, they send us a notification
Okay.
that says, here, they are current. We have pulled back our foreclosure papers. We then take them off the list, and we notify you that they're off the list.
Okay. And so usually, somebody on the staff will have access to this web-based server, and then they can, one person, one license on the shirt, on the some.
We require one point person, number one.
Okay.
Which I guess in this point, I would say would probably be Joe, because he's a community development person. And then there are towns that have 3 people, and then I have Hanover Park that has put on every fireman and every policeman, every community development code inspector. They've got over 100 people. Why police and fire? When they go out to a house at 2 o'clock in the morning and it's vacant, and they don't know who the owner is, what do? They usually call Joe at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, can you find out who this property belongs to? They don't need to do that anymore. They got access to it and they go in there. So it's very helpful. We also, we like to get our feet a little wet before we really go swimming. We also do rental registrations, but we want to prove to you how well we can do with the foreclosures of the vacant property. And then we'll come back and talk about rental registrations also for you. We also do, believe it or not, pet registrations too. And that pet, dogs, cats, whatever you want to register, we'll register. But we'd like to come in first, show you what we can do, and then maybe 3 or 6 months. I know that the purpose I deal with in Linwood a lot. She's actually the one that got me here. Because Joe was over talking to her one day, and she said, you have this program yet? Oh. And Joe said, why don't you come here? I can't be everywhere, I'm sorry. But I'm here tonight. There's one of me, that's all there is.
Okay.
Close your eyes, what do you see?
Zero.
You will never pay less than that.
Any other questions? Okay, so we'll pass this on to our lawyers and they come back to the board and then we'll go from there. Thank you so much. The next item is our engineer Jim Zonick will be explaining the logistics center engineering study.
Good evening. Lovely to be here. So I'm here to talk about the CMAP grant that the village got for $350,000, and that grant is going to cover a phase 1 study of the logistics center. Invest in Cook. Sorry. Invest in Cook. That's the grant that we got. Yeah. So phase one study of the logistics center determined the infrastructure improvements necessary to encourage additional development within the industrial park. Robinson is teaming with another engineering firm, HDR, to complete the study. HDR was involved in the feasibility study that preceded this current study, and they are experts in rail infrastructure. So the scope of the study includes the necessary time to complete a phase one project development report, or PDR, and submit it to both Cook County and IDOT for approval. The total cost is estimated at $449,995. And it includes the following tasks as part of the PDR. Full topography of preferred alignment as determined in the previous county feasibility rail studies. Coordination and identification of existing utilities to determine potential relocations. Meetings with IDOT, Cook County, CN, and village staff, including a kickoff meeting, FHWA and an IDOT coordination meeting. And we're also doing a NEPA, which is an environmental study for processing for biological, cultural, and special waste clearances, which includes a wetland delineation and report, and coordination with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We will identify the required regulatory permit requirements involved in the improvement. It involves coordination with CN to develop an operating plan to determine a final rail alignment expansion. We will determine existing right-of-way and potential impacts from proposed improvements. We will do traffic counts and projections for a traffic analysis and traffic signal warrants at Winpack Way and Cottage Grove Avenue. We will do an intersection design study at Winpack Way and Cottage Grove Avenue if warranted. We will analyze the route, corridor, and propose the appropriate roadway cross-section. We will develop proposed horizontal and vertical alignment options. We will analyze existing drainage and determine the required drainage system for the proposed improvements. And this will involve coordination with IDNR and MWRD as necessary. We will prepare the PDR, which will include all required exhibits and correspondence for IDOT and county review and approval. We will prepare the preliminary estimate of cost. We will prepare and hold a public information open house meeting to get area property owner input and comments. And we will identify sources of funding for phase two engineering and construction. The project deliverables are as follows. First, the project development report, which will include typical sections, plan and profiles, cross sections, an intersection design study at Cottage Grove, again, if that's warranted, and a rail operating plan, and finally, an estimate of cost. Coordination with CN during the feasibility study indicated that in order to proceed with engineering, detailed information on specific tenants or developments for the eastern half of the logistics center must be identified, including industry, commodity, origin, destination, projected rail volumes, and required schedule. An operating plan will be developed and will include discussion on likely tenants, volumes, oops, I just said that, and details on interstate switching. And that will crews and equipment be provided by CN or by the logistics center via a third-party contractor. If potential tenants are unknown, the HDR rail operations staff will work with the logistics center to develop reasonable assumptions to progress the operations plan for future discussions with CN and other stakeholders. Once the operations plan is developed, the design criteria and basis of design will be updated to reflect the projected uses and volumes. 3 alignment options may be evaluated as a result of the operations plan. Refinements to the layout may include different geometry for the CN mainline connections, different alignments of the primary lead track or loop, or different industry spur layouts. all of which can be discussed with CN and other stakeholders, which may reduce capital costs and improve inter-facility switching. So that is a summary of the scope of work. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
You mentioned, Jim, that the grant will be $350,000 and the total will be $440,000.
Yes.
Where's the additional $100,000 coming from?
TIF, correct?
TIP. And which TIP is this going to come out of?
Three.
And is it possible to get a copy of the summary you just stated to us?
Absolutely. That'd be wonderful, thank you.
So you're asking us to have this on the,
So the village attorney's been looking at the agreement between Robinson and the village. Robinson would be the lead engineer. Like Jim said, they're bringing on HDR, who is a rail engineering professional. That's their forte. They're kind of renowned for the rail engineering. So it's a good partnership. Cook County is very happy with that partnership as well. So that was why we decided to move forward with this project, because we know that between Robinson's expertise and HDR's expertise, it just makes sense. So once legal gets done with their review, I'm hoping they're done soon. Those contracts will be in your packets for approval, and I'm hoping to have that on the agenda for Tuesday, pending legal review.
any other questions? Thank you very much. I appreciate the explanation. I still didn't understand that. I appreciate, it's better you than me trying to explain it. So.
But I don't know about your stuff, so it's all you.
But I mean, but you know, that's why you get paid to, you know, engineer, so. I'm sure when the lawyers get to looking at it and we get it and look at it, it'll be okay. And this is just for the study, because this doesn't mean they're gonna build anything. This is what you have to have in order to get any type of commerce over there in that TIF area for the rail spur, which will help us be able to go out and sell it and say, okay, we have that part done, the engineering part done. And I'm sure that the main people will be CN. Once they get someone, they will be the ones that will actually put the rail spur in, but the engineering work will be done, because they will try to make us pay for the engineering.
Right. And part of the Logistics Center corridor study that Cook County commissioned was exactly that, Mr. Mayor. They identified the Logistics Center as a high priority and high asset value to development for Cook County and the Southland. So they did their Logistics Center corridor study, which included Sauk Village, Fort Heights, and Chicago Heights. And out of that, this was one of the biggest parcels that they were interested in, and that's why there's a lot of investment from Cook County into this as well. So,
And I'm just glad, because I think it was, I talked to a few mayors, they was asking, how do we get it? They did, because I mean, they saw it in, I guess, the journals that we were actually given that grant, and they were looking at why, you know, so I'm just glad that we're able to get that grant, that kind of money from them. Glad we're getting the grants that we are getting, period, but this is something that will help us in the long run when we try to.
and that was one of the largest investment Cook's grants that was awarded that last year. So,
Yes, it was. Okay, no questions? Thank you, Mr. Zarnik, and we'll be getting, let you know, we'll get back to you.
All right.
We'll see you next Tuesday, sir.
Thank you. Good night.
Next item is Trustee Todd is going to, she's going to explain the review of the ordinance 18-016, the animal control ordinance.
Thank you. The agenda needs to be amended, because that's not the ordinance I'm talking about. The ordinance I'm going to be talking about is 17-024. This has to do with, and I put it actually in the trustees' packets because I wanted you to read it. the reason I wanted you to read is we passed this on October 2017. Every week, we have a resident that comes up because they have a problem with a dog. It's gone on long enough. We have failed this resident due to this ordinance. Now, October 4th of 2018, our former chief sent a letter to this resident, and I have copies of that letter if you'd like to see it. It was sent certified that this resident needed to remove the dog from the city limits. My understanding is when you have to sign for the certified letter, it was returned, signed. The officer goes to the resident, and the woman proceeds to tell the officer that she did not sign it. So somebody in that residence signed that. So he gave her a letter. Now we are now talking, this is now March. We have failed as a board to address this issue. It should have been done a while ago. Are we waiting for a resident to be maimed, killed? Because now we've put our village in a precarious situation where we're going to get sued. We put these ordinances in place for a reason. This particular one is to protect our residents. We have several of them. If we're not going to abide by the ordinance, then why have it? And I want to bring it to the board's attention because every week this goes on. There is no reason that this resident should have to come up every week. She's taken the proper precautions, and somehow we failed. So if you'd like to see a letter that was sent to this resident, I'll be more than happy to provide it to you. So I believe that this needs to be addressed. I've listened every week to the excuses as to why this isn't being done. Last week, you have a resident that comes up and says, well, if I go to visit this person and that dog comes out, I'm going to have to shoot him because you can't run from him. Our resident provided us pictures of this dog with this big heavy chain on him. It's chasing people down the street. I've seen the videos. Our resident should not be afraid to walk out her door and for fear that this dog is going to get her. Now, we as a board, everyone sitting here, we would not have allowed this to happen in our neighborhood for a year and a half. We would have done something. So when you go through the proper procedure and nothing's getting done, this is an issue. Now, that's why the ordinance is there. I want you to read it. Again, if you want to see this letter, but I know that that woman is aware that that dog has to be gone from our city limits. And that's what I wanted to bring before you.
Okay, you said it was wrong. What you're addressing, is that ordinance 17-024, is that the one that you're addressing?
That is correct. The 18-016 has something to do with something else. Well, that has to do with something entirely different than right. I'm only addressing the one for the vicious animals and rabid animals and dangerous animals. This dog is deemed dangerous. And are we going to wait till it actually maims or kills someone? We should not have to wait for that. We hear all the time these dogs are running loose. This ordinance is there for a reason. And I expect something to be done. As an ordinance review, we push to get these done. We go over and we make sure that they're all correct. We have to do something. Like I said, here's the letter that was sent by our previous chief. It's not been adhered to. That woman is aware of it. Now, she's going to get rid of it to a relative. Does that relative live in Sauk Village? We can't have this to continue. This resident should not have to come up here week after week for over a year. And that's why I brought it before you. Because I want you to read the ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, I guess I have a question. So this is the second chief that's dealt with this dog. From my understanding, we've sent numerous tickets. I'm not sure. I think it's been stated they haven't been paid. From my understanding, I think the current chief was supposed to have a conversation with the resident. I think he even went out and bought some equipment that he can catch the dog. Do we have like an update on, I guess, I guess I thought as a board we were waiting on the chief to kind of come up with something, because I mean, as a board, yes, we have an ordinance, but the chief is under, from my understanding, it's under his control right now. So I'm not sure if like he needs to come in and to a committee meeting and say like, hey, what's going on, give us an update. But I mean, yes, we have an ordinance, but he has to do the action though.
I understand, and I've listened to his action. The letter was sent, part of your ordinance. Now, you're going to go knock on the door and you're going to have a talk with the resident. This resident is well aware. When it comes to the fees, can you make her pay it? No, but you can send it to, I understand it's at a collection agency. We're dealing with the dog. And if this resident obviously is opening the door, letting the dog out, it's chasing people down the street, people go off to work, they can't get in their vehicle. There's been numerous complaints. And in this particular one from October of 2018, they cite 6 separate incidents. So I'm sure that's doubled. How many incidents do we have to have? So you're going to give it a dog tranquilizer, or you're going to try to catch it. It needs to be addressed, because I do not want to see someone injured or killed, because now we're going to have a lawsuit. And there's no reason for that. That's why I'm bringing it before the board. It's gone on long enough. I've listened to the responses, I've listened to this. No, it's time that it's taken care of.
So, Mr. Mayor, I guess what are the next steps if the chief can't get this under control?
Well, now, because I didn't know that's what this was, but had I known that, I would have the chief here tonight. So I didn't know, I thought it was something different. But I will tell you this, at the next board meeting, the action will be taken care of, and the chief will come and address the board and let the board know what the action was. So between now and next Tuesday, whatever he has to do, that's why I'm trying to figure out, do we have the right to go in there and physically remove the dog? I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, so, but I will make sure that something to that effect, that dog won't be here in this neighborhood next week. So I don't know what kind of action, I'm not going to say. I know I've heard people say shoot the dog. I'm not for shooting any animal like that unless they're attacking you. And I don't like to have people shoot guns, you know, they may not aim correctly. So I just want to make sure that that particular part, and I did hear the resident last week talk about it, several weeks talked about the dog, and there was a lot of things going back and forth that was supposed to give the dog away, it's supposed to do this, supposed to do that. Well, that's over with now, so it's going to have to be something definite. I'll tell you right now, that particular incident will be addressed before next Tuesday, and then next Tuesday the chief will come in and explain to the board what he did do and what happened. So that hopefully that I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to tell him to go shoot a dog or whatever, but the dog has to leave. There's too many complaints. It would be the same thing if it was a human being and they had a lot of complaints on it. So can you file a, yes, you can file a complaint against an animal. So, and that animal could be locked up for a certain amount of time until court time comes. But that being said, there's been numerous. You said you have a letter. So had I known this was what we were talking about, I would have the chief here today to explain, but I'll make sure that the chief is here. But I will say this, that it will be taken care of between now and next Tuesday, and he can come and explain to you what he did and what happened.
Do you want a copy of this letter?
Yeah, I would appreciate the copy.
Because I'll give each one of you. I don't advocate for shooting, but it's reaching a point that's gone on long enough. So what is your repercussion? No, you don't want, we don't want our residents out there shooting animals or doing whatever. So we need to address this. This has gone on long enough. So that's why I brought it before the board. So I will give you a copy, I'll give each one of you a copy of the letter that was sent to this resident.
Okay, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'm a little confused. His dog has been running for 12 months. How many people has he been? How many people has his dog been? Now, we know the dog is a nuisance. We know it's a nuisance. But how many people has he actually been?
I don't know, but we do have a we do have a law that your dog should be chained.
This kind of dog, this is a pit bull that's speaking in terms of?
I guess, yeah.
If it's a pit bull, we need to call the county. The county is going to have to get that dog. I think the county is going to
That's what I said, it's gonna be taken care of between now and next week, and then the chief is gonna come and explain.
But in 12 months, if somebody, this dog is run up on somebody, in 12 months, it hasn't been into that. It's not vicious, it's a nuisance. But by nature of being a big boy, he's a vicious dog. Because the question is not 25,000.
Okay. Is there anything else? Village clerk, Michael Campbell Pruitt, U.S. Census Bureau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your packet are a couple of documents that I received when I attended a training on the subject last week. And I thought that it was really important that I share with you why the census is important. We all think that the government just wants to know how many people are in a village or a town. But when they say that they utilize the data to benefit, and in this instance, I'm going to only speak for Sauk Village, it really does impact us. And so therefore, it would behoove us to assist any way possible to get as many people counted in the census for 2020. And you may think and ask, if it's 2020 and this is just 2019, what's the urgency? Well, this is the planning stage. There is a complete schedule of when they're doing what and when. Let me go with what's in your packet for you. The very first sheet that I gave is 50 ways census data are used. One of the primary, you may wonder why do we have 3 different legislators serving Sauk Village? Well, we have 3 different tracks serving Sauk Village. And none of our tracks are large enough by themselves that it would facilitate us having one representative, one legislator that would be solely assigned to us. That's going to be a little later, but you know, we talk about our school districts, we talk about forecasting for transportation. Think about, we just completed the comprehensive plan that we've not even started implementing, but we have plans for so many different areas that, depending on your count, it depends on the types of funding and assistance that you can get that will benefit us as we continue our progress, as we begin to implement the plan. The next document that I have for you, who I can barely see, is profile. And it's looking at, and this is just something for you because I thought it was so interesting because I love data. But this is information on all of our residents from the 2000 census. It tells us the age. Why would we want to know the age category? Well, as we're doing future planning, we would need to know the age group that we need to plan for. What types of services should we start preparing for now based on the ages that we see? So I have that information for you. Another thing, I talked about the different tracks. What I've shared on this document here, this one, trustees, this one here, those are the 2 tracks, and it tells you where they're located, but then it also tells you the participation rate, meaning how many people actually signed up and were interviewed and provided their information. So if you look at the very first track, which is north of Sauk Trail to 215, in 2000, 76% of the population participated in responding to the census. However, in 2010, it decreased down to 67%. So if you look at the 2010, where Sauk Village is concerned, we basically 67%, 68%. That 78% that you see for track 8297, that's really Deer Creek and Steger. And I'm certain that it's more Steger than it is Deer Creek, because Deer Creek is just one development. So if we really, really want to be entertained, we've got to do that. Next document that I've given you is to complete count committees, and that is what's being formed now. And if you look at 2019, that's the study. They're opening field offices in different areas right now. They're developing a strategy. When I was at the training last week, I had to go through with some projections and identify those people who could be a part of the count committee. And so that's what's being formed now. And I would hope that many of our trustees, or at least one trustee, would be represented on the count committee. We have to look at our school district, the churches, and just a lot of different areas that we would want to be a part of our subcommittee. And the last thing that I'm going to say to you is you have a document like this, and residents, there's a document like this on the back table. I'm going to ask that you share this document for our residents to apply online for census jobs. That's not the same as being on the committee, because the committee is volunteer. However, what the United States Census desire is that when they have people coming to your home, they want people who live here in Sauk Village. They don't want to bring somebody from outside of Sauk Village to come go door to door, knock on your door, and to get the census information. So here is an opportunity for some of your family, some of your friends to become employed. Know that it's not just going door to door. They have some office positions as well. And, you know, it goes from paying $15 an hour, I think, up to 20-something an hour. So it would behoove you to share with some of your people that you know, and then also for some of our residents to just take part in this interview. And that concludes my report there, but you can always come to my office and get additional information if you so desire, because I didn't give you the entire package of data. That concludes everything.
Okay, you have another item on here, parliamentary procedures?
Yes, I do. I have another item, and this time I'm going to ask that you pull out the document that I put in your meeting packet, and it's called Guidelines and Cheat Sheet. I've given you that before. I've given you other information before also regarding parliamentary procedures. Parliamentary procedures are the rules. That's what you have here. And it's just a little cheat sheet. And I'm not going to read through all of it. However, I've noticed that a couple of the trustees have been attempting to assist us to conduct orderly meetings, which is what Robert Rules of Order helps us to do. So because I notice that some of you are just a little cautious in terms of what should you really be saying when, I thought that I would just walk you through 2 items today and give you another opportunity to read all the rest of it, because I know that when I give you stuff, you can't wait to get home to read it. But today I'm going to ask that you forget about the first page, go to the second page. The second page, the part that begins with debate. Whenever the mayor asks, are there any comments or questions, what you say after that, in response to him saying that, that's called debate. So debate is not necessarily a bad word, okay? So you're engaging in debate. This sheet talks about the different types of debate, the rules of debate, but that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the part that's in the red. Closing debate. We know that we get involved and we get very, very emotional and involved in some of our debates, and it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on, and it sort of gets out of hand from time to time. So, trustees, when you see, if this one applies if we're in a board meeting, not today, okay? Because it's at the board meetings when the mayor has to call for a vote after he asks if there is any questions or whatever, or comments. And that's when we can get a little long-winded. So, if and when you see that one of your fellow trustees are going on and on and on, and in a sense saying some of the same thing, then what you would say in order to close that debate is you would say, well, this is call to question, but really the right terminology is call for the question. So really what you're asking the mayor, you're asking for debate to stop at that point in time, and you're asking the mayor to call for the vote. Which in turn, then he would turn around to me and ask me, to take roll call. But in order for that to work, it's going to require a vote from 4 of you, okay? So, when someone say call for the question, the mayor will then say all in favor, okay? And then that's when you vote. That's how you can close that debate and move on with the rest of the meeting. Let's move on, turn the sheet over. One other that you both used, a couple of you used the other day, and that was point of order, and it's not highlighted in red. But you're going to use that point of order when you have people who is, again, going on and on and on, and is not necessarily following the agenda. Likewise, and also when there's an infraction of the rule. If you see someone that's lacking in decorum, you're screaming, you're howling, you're out of order and all of that, then you would call point of order. You bring order back to, order and decorum back to the meeting. That's what you're doing when you call point of order. Another one that you would use that's in the red is called the order of the day. You're calling people back to the agenda. When you have someone that the mayor is talking on an agenda item, and then you have someone who decides that, oh, that word may be very similar to whatever, so I'm going to go off on tangent and start talking about blah, blah, blah. If you call for the order of the day, and I'm off topic, I am supposed to immediately stop and go back to the agenda item, okay? But at that point in time, you must stop the debate, you must stop talking, and return to the agenda items, okay? Do you guys understand? Okay. We want to practice that coming up, because the more and more you utilize these tools and these rules, the easier it's going to get for you. But the thing is, we all have to agree that we operate under Robert Rules of Order. Thank you, Mr. David. I know I took a little longer than I had planned, so what do I owe you? Because I think we took that.
All right, thank you so much. Next item, do you have any comments from the, we'll go to public comments instead of comments from the trustees. We'll go to public comments. All questions and comments must be directed to the mayor. Each speaker may comment on any matter pertaining to the business of Sauk Village. Each speaker is allowed one opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes and may not engage in debate, counter, replies, or rebuttals. And I will answer all as normal at the end of the questioning period. Please state your name when you come up.
Judy Cast here. Linda Todd, I would like to thank you for bringing up your code situation. It's very helpful knowing that somebody cares. I'm going to go back to last week. And Mr. Carter, I'm sorry, I disagree with you. I have not been to the range in a couple of months, but I do know how to use a gun. I have never had to use a gun. I am saying I have taken the steps to protect myself because I can no longer run or move like I used to. I can't breathe the way I used to. If I see a dog lunge at me and show its teeth, I'm not going to ask, is this a harmful dog or is this dog just, I don't think he's bitten anybody. I'm not asking those questions. I'm pulling the trigger. It is not just this one dog. You have to understand that. Friday afternoon, dispatched to our officers that the Rickover Junior High kids were let out and they were running in panic from 2 pit bulls. It's not just one in the village, it's more. And it is a lawsuit. Heaven help the child or an adult that gets bit by one of these that refuses to open its mouth and let you go. That's a big lawsuit. And steps need to be done. As far as Cook County is concerned, Cook County has been notified. Cook County isn't doing anything. Cook County's letting Sauk Village deal with it. And that's all I have to say for tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. I would like to thank you for taking the interest in doing something about this dog. This dog has been 18 months, roughly, since it's been started. I'm not the first person that had trouble with this dog. When it started, it was just a dog running loose. Now it has proceeded to chase people. I have videos of it chasing people down the street, running for their life because that friggin' dog was after them. Cook County was called. I called Cook County after Chief White told me, first step, call me. Then I will call Cook County. But by the time I called the chief, he calls Cook County, the dog is back in. And Chief White said last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, we can't go knock their door down. But that dog is going to be brought back in. As far as the tickets are concerned, over $4,000. And you yourself, Mr. Mayor, said, I don't know how you know that. Well, because I went to court. When you go to court, they tell you how much fine you're going to pay. Over $4,000 this one family has accumulated in tickets. They don't show up for court. They don't pay them. And last week I did tell you, when the chief called me, he said, well, you know, people like that don't pay those tickets. Well, there should be something in place to try to get those fines paid. $4,000 would pay for a dog catcher or something of that nature, or a code enforcement person that could go out. Now, just today alone, 2 pit bulls running loose from the school over to Orion. The police were called. They did catch them because they were more of a friendly dog. What did they do with those 2 pit bulls? They took them to Stater. Well, that's fine and dandy. Those dogs weren't vicious, but they were left by a former owner. They said when they went to pick the dogs up, they were left by an owner that moved out of town and left their 2 dogs. So that means they didn't care enough about their pets. And this is sad that these people have to deal with these kind of dogs. Now, the day it came up on my porch after me, that was the last straw. It's always been because I fed the feral cats over the winter so they wouldn't die. I had to suffer for that. That dog's killed 2 cats. They're gone. So next, if it's me, and I've made a call to Channel 7 I-Team, I'm tired of dealing with it. So if you don't want to believe me, the police did order the nooses. Well, you got to get close enough to the dog to put the noose around his neck. The chief ordered treats to sedate those dogs. You got to get close enough to give the dog a treat. God help you, you don't get bit. Thank you.
Kathy Betcher. I come up and every week I ask about police. I know that police are
Speak
not...
up, please, can't hear you.
I know that the police, just hiring more police, are not going to stop shootings and stop bullets. But we do need them. Why can't we hire a policeman / animal control? We need animal control. The dogs running is a major problem. I'm a big dog fan, but these pit bulls are really a problem. I am not one that says that you should ban a dog, but a lot of people, a lot of towns have banned the pit bull. We're getting close to the point where we may have to do that. And I don't like to say that, but that's a possibility. The other thing, if I can ask 2 questions of Mr. Urban, I would just like to know, is everyone in the village going to be registered in this register if we get that program? Even if we aren't in foreclosure, is it just people with a mortgage? How does that work? And second, are those lists sold to other people, other companies? And just one thing from Mr. Carter, I did get a hold of Mr. Mick. Yes. Thank you.
Debbie Williams. Good evening, Mayor and Board. I have a question. Middle of January, I attended the Budget and Finance Committee meeting, and I saw there was only 2 committee members present. Trustee Grant and Mrs. Renita Burgess. And I asked if this was the entire committee, and they said no, they have a 3rd member who was hardly ever able to make the meetings. And then I asked if they were looking for new members, and they said, well, we've been looking for new members for 2 years. And then I said I was going to present a letter of interest, which I did. I sent an email the next morning, and I followed it up with a hard copy at the board meeting. Last week I asked the trustee in charge if, how am I going to be notified if I'm a member of the committee? And I was told that it's under review. And I said, well, what does that mean? He said they received several letters after I turned my letter in. They received several letters for people that wanted to become members of the committee. Well, I find it kind of odd that after 2 years, nobody wanted to be a part of the committee. I wanted to be a part of the committee, and now there's several letters. And then when I asked, well, is there a limit to how many people can be on the committee? I was told that Mayor Burgess does have a limit of how many he wants on the committee. So I don't know how many is the limit. I don't know what the criteria is. I don't know how they're going to choose who's going to be part of the committee. But I did happen to ask at that meeting, if as a member of the Budget and Finance Committee, are we going to be responsible to review the budget process in the budget process? Because I believe that's part of what the Budget and Finance Committee does. And they told me yes, and I was very interested in that. And I also asked if I would be able to see the transfers coming in and out of the restricted and unrestricted funds as a committee member, because I'm very interested in that. And I also asked for copies of the accounts payable, which I think I might have finally got my FOIA answer, but I can't pick it up on my phone tonight. And I also made a suggestion that instead of arguing about accounts payable every time it hits the table, why doesn't the Budget and Finance Committee review the invoices before the meeting? And I was told at a different meeting that that's probably going to be too time consuming. But I understand that Mr. Fitch has that on his agenda to make sure that the invoices are attached to the payables, so now the trustees actually know what they're voting on. So I don't know if it's maybe I just asked too many questions at the Budget and Finance Committee meeting, but all of a sudden, there's all these people, I don't know what the criteria is, but I sure hope that I'm one of the people that makes the cut. Thank you very much.
Mary Escobedo. Linda, thank you for that ordinance you brought, but as you said, the trustees are not doing their job. There's a lot of ordinances, like the social media ordinance, that they are not abiding by and should be doing something about that. And secondly, if I remember correctly, when I was on that Finance Committee, Grant, you said you only wanted 3 people on the committee besides yourself. So all that other stuff you're feeding to Debbie, I think that you're incorrect. You need to look at what you originally said and what you're saying now. That's all I have for tonight.
Okay. As I stated about the dog, to tell you the truth, I never saw this letter, so this letter speaks for itself, and that's something I'm going to find out about. Because it says in here that the dog should be removed and barred from the village. This is what was said by, at that time, the police chief. Was it said by, is this a, can we initiate this and can we make this without being sued or whatever? That's what I got to find out. But this is what the previous chief wrote. And so I'm going to find that out. But like I said before, this is going to be taken care of between now and then. And the chief will come back and report to the trustees what action was taken. As far as hiring police, I've already said we're going to be hiring police. You just won't hire them tomorrow. So we will be hiring police. We got measures in place. We hope that we will. I'm trying to get it done one way, but quite naturally, when you try to do things, the law stops you from doing certain things, so you have to do it and go back, and or they have to go through the through the training. It's going to take almost 8 months to make that, get the person from the beginning to the end, and that's after they go before the Police and Fire Commission. So it's going to take a while to get that. I'm trying to see if we can circumvent some of that to get the police or get the applicants out as soon as possible. As far as the foreclosure, I'm going to ask Mr. Urban. I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is, but he's here, and I want him to answer the question as far as, is your list going to be sold, and is everybody in the village? Does everybody in the village have their homes? And I already know the answer, but I'll let him answer that for you.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, no, not everyone is listed. Only the homes that are vacant or in foreclosure, whether it's pre or they're literally getting evicted. No, the list is not sold, but the list, I'm sure that the clerk will verify this, becomes a public record and is FOIAble. We can't prevent that, but we do not sell it.
Thank you. As far as the Finance Committee, it was spoken, it said that there was a limit. The trustee runs their own committee, as everyone knows. Trustees run their own committee. I do not tell trustees how to run their committee. I don't put statutes and limitations on them as far as how many people that they feel or how many people that should be on their committee. That's why they have the committee. They're in charge of their committee, and from the beginning to the end. And that being said, I don't know where it came from, but I said that there was a limit on people on committees. back in the last administration, you had to have 2 trustees just to have a committee meeting. And both of them had to be there. So there was only one trustee that was there, the other one wasn't there, you couldn't have a meeting. So that's not what we do now, but I don't put a limitation on how many people and how they should run their committees. And then also, social media, and as I've always stated, I don't respond to questions about social media.
It wasn't a question, it was a statement, just to clarify next time. Yeah.
With that being said, I will go with questions and comments from the trustees. Trustee Tate, you have anything? Trustee Grant?
Yeah, so I'd like to comment on the comment from residents. So in regards to Debbie saying that we had several letters, I never said several, I said we had a number. So I don't know if you misheard me, but I never said several. I do have one other one, and that's not several. And yes, I did mention that we do have a maximum. So that is true. We do have a maximum number of committee members that we would like. Also, you mentioned made a comment about looking at invoices before the accounts payable is paid. That's something that I believe I mentioned last time, how every week, it's around 6:15. Every 2 weeks, I go in, I sit with finance director and kind of go over that. I also mentioned that, did I go over every single invoice? No. But I do look over the ones that look suspicious or catch my eye or just doesn't look right, and we do go over those. Now that Mr. French has been here, I noticed that he has had every single invoice for accounts payable. So that's ready for review. I'm not sure that during the switch in staff that all of a sudden, like, we can ask for more things and they're getting done more in an appropriate time manner now, but that has been addressed a little more quicker now, and we do it's more efficient now that we're getting every single invoice with our accounts payable. So that's all that I have.
Thank you. Trustee Brewer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First thing to do, can you put the RSP back on the agenda 5 to 2 weeks? I requested that the RFP be put back on the agenda in 2 weeks. Got the date, I don't know what date, 2 weeks. Excuse me, you know what the date is?
When you say RFP, what do you mean?
Request for proposal, we never did finish that. It was 2 weeks. The 19th of March. I'm requesting that the RFP be put back on the agenda on March 19th.
Request for proposal for what, so she can get the subject? Request for proposal for what?
I am going to start asking you guys to write it for me so that when it gets to the agenda and we get to the meeting, you don't let me know that I didn't put the right word.
Mike, please use.
I just ask that they write down what they want on the agenda as they want it written, so that I can make certain that I have it correct.
Thank you, ma'am. Also, I requested copies of invoices from February 12th and the 19th, and I haven't received those. Now, I understand, Trustee Grant, you said you've been able to review these invoices since, oh, did I finish? Are you finished? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, anyway, the copies of the invoice I requested on the 12th and the, what date it was, 19th, I just said. But Grant, Trustee Grant, you indicated that you get a chance to review these invoices. I'd like to know, how long have you been doing that? And how come you're the only person that gets to review invoices? Also, in that, I'd like to take a look at those copies of invoices from February. Because I asked for them and I'd like to take a look at them, those invoices. So, yeah, with those questions, yeah. Okay, and my last question is that, Mara, thank you for providing us with that information about the parliamentary procedures. However, I think what the issue is, and I know I get really hot and irritated, but the mayor has to be called to task about some things that he does too. So we're not the only ones, the trustees, that go a little out of the box. So we need to maybe sit down and find some kind of way we can have a happy medium where everybody can discuss their issues without being cut off. So I understand the parliamentary procedures, but I think the mayor should also adhere to them as well. And that's the end of my report.
So in regards to the invoices, so every trustee has the right to go and sit with the finance director at any point in time after getting the accounts payable to the meeting. So I just choose at Tuesdays around 6 o'clock when I get off work to come here and talk with him. So it's not a luxury that I have. We all have the same privilege to do that. In regards to the invoices, so last week when I saw that I was suspicious about the 2016 SNK security, I actually was to be removed because those invoices didn't look correct to me. So I'm wondering that it's popping all of a sudden. So yes, so anybody has that chance and opportunity to do that. I just choose to do mine Tuesday at 6 o'clock before the meeting starts. So.
Well, thank you for that information. And just for the record, my last comment, parliament procedures is that since I've been here at this at Sauk Village since May, have always asked for copies of information. Can't seem to get it. So my question, just to let you guys know, and this is the end of my report, that certain trustees can get information and others can't. It is a known fact. That's the end of my report.
Trustee Todd.
Yes, I'm sure.
Thank you. Ordinance Review Committee is going to meet on March 11th at 6 p.m. here in the Rotunda. I had a meeting scheduled for yesterday, but I inadvertently on my agenda put March 5th, so I could not have it. After I put all my packets together, we're all set to go, I noticed I put the 5th. So we're going to meet next Monday, 6 p.m. here in the Rotunda. I just want to say this, that if I had had my meeting yesterday and I put it on the calendar, there were people here in this Rotunda, so I could not have had my meeting here in the Rotunda. So I'm hoping that people use that calendar, and I don't know when they decide it's going to supersede, but I know that there was somebody here in the Rotunda. And I know that one of the conference rooms has got computers all over it and this and that. So that's why the meeting had been canceled, because I inadvertently had done that. Here's the other comment I have. Ordinance Review is always looking for volunteers. We don't have a limit. Okay? I understand that you only want so many people on your committee, but I want people out there to know that Ordinance Review is always looking for volunteers on our committee. And that ends my report. Oh, I apologize. I was going to, in my comments, bring up the dog ordinance, but the last committee on the whole that we had went so out of control that we never got to say anything. The meeting ended. So I felt it best that I was on the agenda to address it. Because I was afraid that if this meeting went out of control, we wouldn't be, the trustees couldn't talk. So that's why it's on there. So I apologize that if you had known what it was, yes, you could have had the chief here. And that ends my report.
Okay, in regards to what you were talking about yesterday, that was a zoning board meeting. However, if your meeting is there, you can, it used to happen before, years ago, we had a meeting here, there was a meeting in the back. You can always meet at the executive session board room, and you can always do that now. Because at one time, that used to happen. There used to be a meeting here And I think it was Human Resources had their meeting in the back.
This was the one on 5 in the morning.
Oh, okay, so then that was another, that was
It
another.
wasn't the zoning.
Oh, okay, so then it was another meeting, okay,
We have them at night,
okay,
but because one of our members was off, we said, can we do it in the morning? Yeah, we can do it.
Okay.
We really have no come to the meeting, like
Okay.
it is scheduled next week.
all right, from now on, we'll make sure that when there's something scheduled, that these are, it only takes a few sentences to put it in everybody's box, so they just say, hey, we're having a meeting, such a thing, it was scheduled. Because we do have enterprise meetings here, we have all other kind of meetings here during the day. And they, you know, sometimes I don't remember, I walk past and say, who's in there, so that does happen.
It's like a friendly reminder.
Okay. Trustee Carter?
Mr. Mayor, I have absolutely nothing to say.
Good.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you, guys.
Is the camera on?
Yeah, you're looking right at it.
I was gonna send that picture to the post office.
Frank, that was your JD.